Hello Year 10 and welcome to today's biology lesson for our topic exchange and transport in animals. Today we are looking at the response to exercise in animals. So layout for today will be a brief recap of some previous learning that is relevant to today's topic. We will then look at our new learning around response to exercise. I'm going to check the understanding with a couple of questions, then I will set you some independent questions and some consolidation work. Okay, so first of all, a recap. Now we know that previously we've looked at the role of the heart and blood in the transport of oxygen around the body. So what I'd like you to do in a moment is have a go at these two questions. Question 1. State the function of each of the three types of blood vessel and describe how their structure relates to their function. And question 2. In humans and other mammals, the blood vessels are arranged in a double circulatory system. Explain what is meant by the term double circulatory system. So, please pause the video now and have a go at those questions. Okay, how did you get on? So, if we look at the blood vessels first of all, you should have said something along these lines, that veins carry deoxygenated blood back to the heart. They have a thin wall and a large lumen because the blood is at low pressure, and they also have valves which would prevent blood returning back in the opposite direction. Arteries carry oxygenated blood away from the heart under high pressure, so therefore they have a thick wall and they have a small lumen. And capillaries carry blood to the various organs around the body for efficient oxygen transfer. And their structure is very, very thin. They are one cell thick wall, which enables better diffusion of the oxygen and the carbon dioxide back out again. Then looking at the double circulatory system. So here, humans have a double circulatory system. The heart pumps blood through two circuits. You should have mentioned the pulmonary circulation, which transports blood to the lungs, and something called the systemic circulation, which we may not have termed exactly like that, but is the separate part which transports oxygen and nutrients to the body. Okay, and it also transports carbon dioxide and other waste away from the cells. Okay, so now we've got that understanding of how blood is pumped around the body and how oxygen is transported around the body. We're going to look at today's new topic and how the body responds to exercise. So first of all, on the right is an image from my tracker app of a recent run that I did, a run I did on Tuesday lunchtime. And I want you to have a look at the image and write down what you think you can tell from that information. Okay, I'm not going to say any more. You can see what the information that is on there. Okay, what can you tell me about that image? Pause the video and have a go now. Okay, so what you hopefully said was something along the lines of that as my run progressed, my heart rate increased dramatically at the start. Okay, you can see it going up very, very rapidly from quite low, 61, to about 190 beats per minute, quite fast. That coincided with an increase in elevation, so I was actually running up a hill at this point. It then dropped back down and then started to level out and jumped around, leveled out about 160 beats per minute, something like that, okay, towards the end of my run, which is a little bit off here. Okay, so what we're going to look at today is why my heart rate did that. Why did my body make my heart pump faster, okay, during my exercise? So, three questions for you to think about. So how does exercise affect the body? Well, first of all, breathing rate increases and becomes deeper. Why? Heart rate increases and your arteries dilate, that means they become bigger. Why? And the glycogen that is stored in the muscles is converted back into glucose. Again, why? I'd like you to have a go at answering these 3 questions with what you think might be the correct responses. Pause the video and write down what you think. Okay, how did you get on? Here is the sort of things that you should have said. Okay, so breathing rate increases and becomes deeper to increase the amount of oxygen brought into your body and transported to the red blood cells and then to your muscles. It is also enables carbon dioxide to be removed more quickly. You know that heart rate increases and arteries dilate to increase the flow of oxygenated blood to the muscles and also to increase the rate of oxygen and glucose supply for respiration, and obviously also to increase the rate of carbon dioxide removal. And finally, the glycogen that is stored in your muscles is converted back into glucose, because that is what is used to supply the cells with the fuel needed for increased cellular respiration. Okay, how did you get on? If you haven't got all of that correct, then just add to your notes. So, we're going to mention lactic acid and oxygen debt, both of which I touched on very, very briefly in our previous lesson when we were talking about anaerobic respiration. Okay, so if you recall, lactic acid is the product of anaerobic respiration, and it's harmful because it stops the muscles from doing their job. As it builds up in your muscle cells, it stops them from contracting and relaxing, and they become fatigued. And if you recall, clenching and unclenching your hand, your fist above your head, you start to experience cramp, and that forces the body to stop what it is doing and to rest. Okay. Now, so that's lactic acid buildup. And what happens is that we build up something called an oxygen debt. Okay, so normally during aerobic respiration, muscles will get energy from glucose, and they pay for it with oxygen. So in our respiration equation, if you recall, glucose and oxygen, which are used, okay, to obtain energy, release energy. The oxygen is being used as a kind of a payment, a down payment for the energy. Okay. However, during anaerobic respiration, such as with the vigorous exercise, when there is no oxygen, we still need energy. The muscles still need energy, and they still get their energy from the glucose, but there's no oxygen available with which to pay for it. So we build up something called oxygen debt. And in fact, in say a 100-meter sprint, okay, when a sprinter probably won't even take a breath during that 100 meters, that 10 seconds, okay, they are relying solely on the oxygen that they already have in their body and the glucose that is there already as well. So they build up very quickly an oxygen debt. That then needs to be paid off. Okay, so the oxygen debt that builds up during anaerobic respiration is paid off during the recovery period after exercise. As I said, the oxygen debt is the amount of oxygen needed to get rid of the lactic acid, and that pays back the oxygen debt. Okay, so this reaction that happens after you exercise, so after you've finished your run, or you've finished playing football, or you've finished your workout, you'll stop and you'll be paying off that oxygen debt. You'll still have lactic acid in your muscles, but as the lactic acid is broken down by taking in more oxygen, then it converts that to carbon dioxide and water. And you breathe out still heavily, and you continue to sweat and release water. Okay, and it can take a period of time, depending on how fit you are. As you can see in this graph, okay, it's not a very high quality, so I do apologise. But basically, before exercise, okay, your heart rate and your breathing rate are fairly steady, obviously. They will both increase during exercise, and depending on how fit you are, they both need to then come down during the recovery period. So the heart rate may come down really rapidly, the breathing rate may take a little bit longer, but they both have to return to this resting state for the recovery, during the recovery period, for the oxygen debt to be paid off. Okay, so there are 2 questions I'd like you to have a go at answering. Okay, so this is your first main task, and these should be comprehensive answers. Okay, so they're significant questions. If you exercise very hard for a long period of time, your muscles begin to ache and do not work effectively. Explain why. Secondly, if you exercise vigorously, you often puff and pant for some time after you stop. Explain what is happening. Okay, those are your 2 tasks. I'm going to leave you with those for a minute. The last thing I'm going to introduce you to is one more bit of information. Okay, so before you answer those questions, I'm just going to go through this. What happens if we exercise regularly? So what does that actually do? Well, it has a positive effect, as we know. The more you exercise, the fitter you become. But what does that mean? Well, it can do a number of things. It can strengthen the heart, okay? And what that does is it causes the heart to actually become physically bigger, okay? You have a bigger heart. It causes the amount of blood that is pumped by the heart to actually increase. And it causes the walls of the heart to become thicker and to become stronger. So it enables your heart to become more healthy. And what happens is your resting pulse rate gets slower. So that resting pulse rate, which is the pulse rate you would take right now if you're sat at your computer, not exercising, as you become fitter, your resting pulse rate becomes slower because your heart needs fewer beats to pump blood around the body. Okay, because as we can see, the amount of blood pumped increases. Okay, so I'd like you to go back and answer those 2 questions. Okay, you can pause the video now and have a go at those. And then after you've done that, there is a consolidation task for you on Seneca. Okay, it is called Respiration Consolidation Task with today's date, the 8th of January. It is about a 20-minute task. And I have posted the link for that. You can go to schools alongside this PowerPoint. Okay, I look forward to catching up with you soon. If you have any questions about this, please drop into our chat during the lesson time. Otherwise, I will speak to you soon.